Yeah, that's right. I think we'll go with probably the most random of the two, and the one that perhaps people haven't seen a lot of before the tournament, and that's Jakub Kiwior of Spezia in Serie A in Poland. Um, Kiwior is a really interesting player, 22 years old. I've been following his career since before he moved to Italy. He was previously at MSK Zilnia, um, a club who have a real reputation for developing, for identifying, developing, and selling young players. A really interesting market for young players over there. And Spezia paid a fee of over €2 million to get Kiwior across to Serie A. Initially, when he came across, I think he was a little bit slow to build up playing time. But over the course of the last 12 to 18 months, his playing time has developed to the stage now where he's been heavily linked to a move to the likes of Milan and Juventus. Um, Obviously, it's quite common in Serie A for these big clubs to identify and sign players from the smaller clubs in Serie A, if you like. And Kiwior is one that I would strongly suggest will be moving on, even potentially this winter. I think we could see the deal done then if one of those two clubs are keen on gazumping the other, if you like, and getting him away. Um, Kiwior's played this tournament for Poland, a Poland team who have been, it's fair to say, despite reaching the last 16, I don't think anybody was particularly impressed by them. I think they underperformed their level of talent. Let's just put it that way, and that's not just speaking about Lewandowski, who obviously ended up with 2 goals. Potentially should have had three, but I think even the likes of Zielinski, who's one of the best midfielders in Serie A and in Europe, has underperformed too. But I think Kiwior's one that comes out with more credit. The Polish defence was relatively resolute, and I think Kiwior played a part in that. He showed his defensive ability more than anything else in this tournament in terms of his blocks, position in the area, playing in a deep block in terms of denying space and shifting across to create and maintain spacing with the other defenders in Poland. But of what we didn't see as much of what we do see at Spezia and what we've seen throughout his career is his ability on the ball. Very much almost a stereotypical ball playing defender, if you like. He's got the capacity to step out of defence and play those progressive passes that break a line, or to play those diagonal passes that access the opposite side of the field. He's so good in the ball that he also plays as a six, not only a central defender. He's played as a six for Spezia too, and not purely a defensive one, as we're speaking about just before with Bellingham. He's also got the ability to play in that position. He's not just going in there when you're facing a hard team and you essentially want to have an auxiliary defender playing in midfield. He's got more than enough ability in the ball to create danger and make things happen himself. But it's his blend for me of athleticism, game understanding, game experience at this young age, 22 years old. That's what makes him really interesting to me. I think he's going to go somewhere to a bigger club, to a Champions League level club next. And I think when he does, people will really start to sit up and take notice.
Yeah, one of the things that I do really like about Kiwior in terms of the off the pitch is that, at least based on Transfermarkt anyway, is the transfer fees over sort of an incremental. I think it's over maybe a 3 year period, where he goes from Anderlecht's under 21s to Podbresova in Slovakia for €10,000, and that was in January 2019, and then from Podbresova to Žilina for €250,000, which is a nice little incremental increase. And then it's the 2.5 million or €2 million signing from Žilina to Spezia, which is again another incremental increase. And from based on what you're saying there, Lee, any move that he does get to a sort of a team who are going to be playing European football, um, then it's most likely for a 22-year-old international centre half who's done reasonably well at the World Cup, with his stature and the fact that he is just he's a I don't know how you'd put it. He's just very pliable in a very resolute defence. I think you kind of are looking again at another maybe 10 times that, or 5 times or 7 times or whatever that €2.5 million sum. So it's nice to see that the the transfer value has reflected his growing importance in the game. But no, he was one who I wasn't overly familiar with. I kind of knew of him when he arrived at Spezia. Or rather, I knew of him because he'd arrived at Spezia, but wasn't really familiar with his game. But yeah, I'd say that there were two takeaways that I had from Poland's World Cup campaign, and one was that their manager, whose name I will not try and pronounce because it is a very complex and very Polish name. He dresses like he looks like he's in the Politburo. And then you've also got the fact that Poland were very, um, I'd say dour is probably the right word. They were fairly uninspiring, but they got the job done just to get through. And then in the round of 16 were just simply outclassed. But I think the dourness, if that's a word, um, a lot of that comes down to just how resolute, as you said, they were in defence.
Yeah, and part of that's down to I think Szczesny in goal had a
Mm.
really good tournament as well. Somebody who has obviously been almost forgotten by Arsenal fans because when he left there he was so inconsistent. But he went to Italy, went to Serie A, and went to Juventus, and really has gone from strength to strength in terms of being a top class goalkeeper. Um, I think that Poland will feel as though they've missed a trick or missed a chance here because I think they could have had a much stronger tournament than they have. You have to question how many more tournaments Alex Lewandowski is going to make. Will he make the next one? Not entirely sure, if you will. Potentially, if he drops back deep a little bit more, almost into a 10 role. But they have a lot of talent, and I think what I really like about Poland, and I've always liked scouting in Poland, because there is young talent there. The issue that they have domestically in Poland is that quite often the young talent doesn't necessarily get the game time that it needs. But once you find a player in the Polish top flight who is playing regular time and is young and is attainable, then there are really interesting opportunities for clubs to go in and access that market.